Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Dice, and I'm back, and today we're going to be talking about TCM, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and in general, just going over the series and my thoughts and some of my favorite versions of Leatherface and whatnot. So, of course, my favorite versions would have to be the original, the remake version, and believe it or not, the version from part two. But yeah, the original will always be the classic that truly inspired so many great horror films and sparked off a pretty great franchise with a few duds in it. But yeah, the second film really was bizarre and full of mayhem, but I loved it. I thought it was definitely interesting, and you kind of get a little more of a look into the psychology and the utter insanity of Leatherface. And of course, his chainsaw is just fucking huge. Like, it's absolutely insane. He's got this massive chainsaw that he's just hacking people to pieces with, just sawing them open, slicing them in half, slicing heads in half, slicing heads off, whatever, you know. I always liked the second one, and I at one point preferred it over the original, but at this point I can see that the original is much more terrifying, you know. It's just that the second one will always have a special place in my heart, whereas part 3 was kind of iffy with me. I didn't love it, but I did like it, and I thought that Leatherface was badass. That version was definitely intense, you know, and the costume design was right. I felt like it felt right for this new version of Leatherface, whether it's supposed to be the original years later or not. I felt like it was a very awesome, cool version of Leather, whereas the original two will always be some of my favorites, of course, alongside the Thomas Hewitt Leatherface. And the version from part 3 and the version from the movie Texas Chainsaw are also like honorable mentions, I guess. Thomas Hewitt was a man born with a skin disease that absolutely devastated him, and he was raised in a cannibalistic, insane family. And becoming a product of his environment, he became one of the greatest slashers of all time, who had killed, apparently, along with his family, over 33 people that we know of. He was part of one of the most bizarre and heinous crimes in fictional American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, he actually almost won. He did win in the prequel film, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at the beginning. But in the 2003 film, he was, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it by now, defeated by Jessica Biel when he had his arm cut off. But he wasn't killed, and he went on to kill a cop. So that's pretty insane. Yeah, that was Thomas Brown Hewitt, whereas the version from Texas Chainsaw is actually supposed to be the version from the original. I wouldn't say that he's my favorite or anything, or even really close, like top 3, but he's definitely one that I think was a decent Leatherface, a pretty cool one, and I feel like there were good attributes about him, some disturbing things about him, and he played the role fairly well, the actor that actually played Leather in that movie. And the newest Leatherface was definitely badass. The movie I haven't actually seen in its entirety yet, but the actual scenes I have seen and parts I have seen with Leatherface were gruesome, and the kill scenes seemed pretty imaginative while also being violent and, you know, somewhat disturbing, so I appreciate that. But my favorite version is definitely the remake Thomas Hewitt Leatherface next to the original. And yeah, the Thomas Hewitt Leatherface is just so brutal and so animalistic, and he's really a sadist. Like, his family did cause him to become a product of his environment, but at the same time he takes pleasure in what he does, and he's absolutely just macabre, you know. And those movies are some of my favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, period, you know? And some of the best kills in the entire series were in those two movies, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 and the prequel. So tell me, who did it better? Thomas Hewitt Leatherface here in this scene with the penetration of the saw through the body where the dude's impaled and lifted up and then tossed off? Or the newest version of Leatherface when he performed a similar fatality here? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm definitely interested to hear what y'all have to say. I personally prefer the scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. If you would like to see more videos on Leatherface or versus videos with Leatherface, let me know. Anyway, Dice, I'm outie. Thomas Hewitt's Leatherface was just a whole other beast. And the actor who played him did a fantastic job, that's for damn sure. I absolutely love that version. But anyway, yeah, as I said, it's been your boy Dyson. Comment any requests, and I'm outie.